Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this. You wake up every morning not because you have to, but because you can't wait to be the person you're becoming. Today, you're not just tuning in, you're accepting the challenge to master your destiny. Are you ready to stop playing the game and start owning it? Imagine for a moment that your life is a vehicle. Some of you are driving a sports car, some are in a family van, and others feel like you're stuck in an old, beat-up truck. But here's the truth. The type of vehicle doesn't matter nearly as much as the one thing that steers it, the wheel, and that wheel is your mindset. If you don't take control of it, I don't care how powerful your engine is, how much gas you've got in the tank, or even if you've got a road map. If you're not directing the wheel, you're not going to the destination you want. You'll drift, you'll circle, you'll crash. Now, here's the mistake people make. They treat mindset like it's the end goal. They say, I just need to get motivated, or if I could just think positive, then everything would fall into place. That's not mastery. Mind set isn't the destination. It's the steering wheel. It's the tool that directs your focus, your energy, your decisions. It's not about sitting in the car and saying, I feel good about this drive. No, it's about grabbing that wheel with both hands and saying, I'm going to own this road. Think about it. Whatever you focus on expands. If you're constantly focusing on what's missing, you'll drive straight into scarcity. If you're obsessing over what might go wrong, your wheel is locked toward fear, and you'll attract it. You'll prove yourself right. But the flip side is just as powerful. If you focus on what's possible, on solutions instead of problems, on the future instead of the past, suddenly the road opens up. Obstacles don't disappear, but you navigate them with certainty. Every single breakthrough in life and business begins the moment you decide to shift your focus. That's the first move. Because when you shift focus, you change meaning. And when you change meaning, you change emotion. And when your emotions shift, your actions explode in a new direction. That's how entire lives transform in an instant. But let's be real, the wheel doesn't turn itself. You've got to condition it. If you don't, your default programming, the fears, the doubts, the old voices will grab that wheel for you, and you'll end up in the same old neighborhood of frustration. How many times have you promised yourself you'd change, but weeks later you were back in the same spot? That's not because you didn't want it bad enough. It's because you let your old mind take the wheel. So here's the challenge. You've got to train your mind daily the way you train your body. Feed it with empowering beliefs, not junk. Direct it to gratitude instead of lack. Teach it to find opportunities when everyone else sees crisis. That's the real competitive advantage. It's not money, not connections, not luck. It's the ability to take command of your mind in the moment and steer it toward what you want most. And let's kill the myth right here. You don't need to be fearless to drive forward. Fear will always be a passenger in the car. The difference is, do you let fear grab the wheel, or do you keep it in the back seat, strapped in where it belongs? Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's deciding who's in control when fear shows up. Ask yourself, where have you been letting autopilot take over? Where have you been saying, this is just the way things are? Because that's not the way things are. That's just the way you've been steering. You want a new result, turn the wheel. Want a different destination, change your focus. Your mind is the most powerful navigation system on Earth, but it only works if you program it with clarity and intention. Don't tell it, I want less stress. That's like telling your GPS, take me anywhere but here. You'll get lost. Instead, get specific. This is where I'm going. This is the standard I demand. This is who I'm becoming. Then lock both hands on the wheel and drive like your life depends on it, because it does. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, the next time you feel like life is pulling you in 10 different directions, stop. Ask yourself, who's holding the wheel right now? Is it my fear? Is it my doubt? Or is it the version of me that knows what I'm capable of? Because mastery starts with one decision, to take the wheel, to own your focus, and to direct your destiny. There comes a moment in every person's life where they have to make a decision. Is this really the standard I'm going to accept for myself? Because whether you realize it or not, your entire life right now is a reflection of the standards you've settled for. Your health, your relationships, your finances, your business, it's all a mirror of what you've decided was acceptable, not what you wanted, not what you hoped for, but what you tolerated. The truth is simple. If you want to change your life, you've got to raise your standards. Nothing changes until you draw that line in the sand and say, never again. I will no longer settle for less than I'm capable of. I demand more from myself. That's the moment real transformation begins. Think about it. Every breakthrough in history, whether it's an individual or a business, came from someone who said, this level is no longer enough. I must play higher. Apple wasn't built on someone saying, good is good enough. The greatest athletes in the world didn't rise by saying, I'll just get by. They raised their standards, then they raised their game to match them. See, here's the trap. Most people set goals, but they never raise their standards. And that's why they fail. A goal is just a dream until your standard demands it. If your standard is, I want to be in good shape, you'll dabble, you'll diet, you'll start and stop. But if your standard is, I will not accept anything less than being in peak energy every single day, then it's not about motivation anymore, it's about identity. It's who you are. And when your standard becomes identity, action is automatic. The same goes for business. If your standard is, I want to make money, you'll do enough to survive. You'll compete, you'll hustle, but you'll never dominate. But when your standard becomes, I will not rest until my business is world class, until it serves people at the highest level, until it changes lives, suddenly your decisions, your strategies, your creativity, they all rise to meet that demand. And here's the catch. Raising your standards isn't a one-time event. Life will constantly test you. Circumstances will try to drag you back to your old level. People around you will want you to stay where it's comfortable, because your growth makes them confront their own limitations. That's when you have to decide, do I shrink back to fit their expectations, or do I hold the line and keep rising? Raising your standards is about burning the boats. It's about cutting off every exit, every excuse, every fallback plan. It's saying, this is the new normal, this is the level I live at, anything less is unacceptable. And the moment you make that decision, something shifts inside you. You stop negotiating with your limitations, you stop making excuses, you start finding a way, no matter what, because here's the secret, your standards create your rituals, and your rituals create your results. If your standard is average, your rituals will be lazy, inconsistent, reactive. If your standard is excellence, your rituals will be disciplined, intentional, unstoppable. And over time, those rituals compound into results that look like miracles to other people. But to you, they're just the natural byproduct of who you've become. Don't wait for the perfect moment to raise your standards. Don't wait until you feel ready, until circumstances are right, until everything lines up. If you wait, you'll wait forever. Raise your standards now, and watch as your game rises to meet them. That's how leaders are born. That's how businesses transform. That's how ordinary people create extraordinary lives. So ask yourself, what's an area of your life where you've been settling, where you've been saying it's fine, when deep down you know it's not? Is it your energy, your income, your relationships, your impact? Identify it, own it, and then decide, this ends here, this ends now. From this moment forward, I demand more. And once you do, you'll notice something amazing. The moment you raise your standards, life begins to bend to match them. Opportunities show up. People respond differently. Your own mind opens doors you never saw before. Why? Because the world doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you demand of yourself. So don't just raise your standards, live them. Don't just declare them. Embody them. Step into the identity of the person who plays at that higher level, and then let every thought, every choice, every action reflect it. That's how you stop settling. That's how you stop playing small. That's how you master your life and your business. Your destiny is not written by chance. It's written in the decisions you make every single day. One choice at a time, you carve out the life you're living right now. And if you look closely, everything you have, the success, the struggles, the wealth, the debts, the energy, the exhaustion, it's all the result of decisions you made in the past. Some conscious, some unconscious, but here's the truth. Your future isn't dictated by your past decisions. It's dictated by the ones you're about to make. A single decision can redirect your entire life. People underestimate that. They think destiny is shaped by huge events, by luck, by timing. But no, destiny is sculpted in those moments where you say, "This is it. This is who I am now. This is the line I'm crossing, and I'm never going back." That one decision, backed with resolve, has the power to create a future that looks nothing like your past. But let's be honest. Most people don't actually decide. They hesitate, they wish, they hope. They say things like, "I should lose weight, I should start my business, I should get serious about my finances." But should doesn't sculpt destiny. Should keeps you stuck. Only must creates change. When you turn a should into a must, your whole psychology shifts. Your brain starts looking for strategies, your energy ignites, your creativity wakes up. Because when something becomes a must, there's no more debate. It's happening. Think about any area of your life that's extraordinary right now. At some point, you made a real decision. You said, "I'm done with excuses. I'm done with half measures. This is how it's going to be." And once you made that decision, your life reorganized around it. That's the power of choice, but making the decision is only half the story, because a decision without action is just a nice idea. You can decide you want to build a great business. You can decide you want to be healthy, to be wealthy, to be fulfilled. But until you take massive action, it's not real. Action is what breathes life into your decision. Action is what tells your brain, "This is not a dream, this is happening." The moment you take that first step, even if it's messy, even if it's small, you send a signal to yourself and to the world that you're serious. But here's what stops most people: fear, fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of the unknown. So they stay frozen in indecision, thinking they're being cautious. But indecision is still a decision. It's a decision to settle. It's a decision to let circumstances dictate your life instead of you shaping it. And that's the most dangerous decision of all, because it slowly kills your potential without you even noticing. The truth is, you don't need to know the whole path before you move. You don't need to see every step. You just need to decide where you're going and then take the first action. Because once you act, clarity comes, momentum builds, and each step reveals the next one. The greatest breakthroughs never came from someone sitting around waiting for certainty. They came from people who acted with courage in the middle of uncertainty. And when you act, you create confidence. People think confidence comes first, then you act. Wrong. Action creates confidence. You start moving, you start learning, you start growing. Suddenly, what felt impossible becomes familiar. What once scared you now excites you, and that momentum pushes you forward into new levels of mastery. So ask yourself right now, what's the decision you've been avoiding? What's the thing you keep telling yourself you'll get to someday? Because someday doesn't exist. There's only today. There's only now. And if you don't decide today, the cycle continues. Maybe for you it's finally deciding that your health is no longer optional. Maybe it's deciding that your business is not just going to survive, it's going to dominate. Maybe it's deciding that your relationships will be built on passion, not just routine. Whatever it is, you already know the decision. The question is, will you make it? And will you back it with relentless action? Because once you do, you'll discover a force inside you that's been waiting for that moment. A strength that only shows up when you fully commit. That's the moment you stop dabbling and start creating. That's the moment you stop drifting and start sculpting. So right now, make the decision, not tomorrow, not next week, now. Decide who you are. Decide what you'll stand for. Decide the standard you'll live at. And then take one bold action to make it real. Do it today. Do it now. Because in the end, your destiny is not written by what you say. It's written by what you do. People think the reason they're stuck is because they don't have enough resources. They say, "I don't have enough money. I don't have the right connections. I don't have enough time. I don't have the skills." That's the story they tell themselves to justify why they're not where they want to be. But let me tell you something. It's never a lack of resources that holds you back. It's a lack of resourcefulness Money, technology, connections, those things are tools, but tools don't create breakthroughs. Resourcefulness does, because if you're committed, if you're hungry enough, you'll find a way. You'll get creative. You'll knock on doors until one opens, and if it doesn't, you'll build your own door. That's the difference between those who make history and those who make excuses. Think about it. Every great entrepreneur, every leader, every innovator you admire started without resources. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the perfect team. They didn't have investors lined up begging to fund them. What they had was an unshakable drive, a burning vision, and the creativity to turn nothing into something. They had resourcefulness, and that's why they won. Here's the truth. When you don't have resources, you're forced to dig deeper. You become sharper. You become stronger. Scarcity forces innovation. Constraints force creativity. When you have no safety net, you learn how to fly. That's why some of the greatest successes came from people who started with nothing. They didn't complain about what they lacked. They maximized what they had. On the other hand, how many people do you know who had the money, the education, the connections, and they still failed? They had the resources, but not the resourcefulness. They waited for the perfect conditions, and the moment things got tough, they collapsed. Because resources don't guarantee success, resourcefulness does. Resourcefulness means tapping into the greatest power you already own, your human emotion, passion, determination, courage, creativity. Love, these are the ultimate resources. If you can ignite them, you can move mountains. You can inspire teams, attract opportunities, and create momentum where none existed before. So the question is never, do I have enough resources? The real question is, how resourceful can I become? What if instead of saying, I don't have the money, you asked, how can I create the money? Instead of saying, I don't have the time, you asked, what can I eliminate? What can I delegate? How can I maximize the time I do have? Instead of saying, I don't know the right people, you asked, how can I add so much value that the right people come find me? That's the mindset of resourcefulness. And once you start thinking this way, everything shifts. Challenges stop being dead ends and start becoming puzzles. Problems stop being obstacles and start becoming opportunities. You stop waiting for the world to hand you the answers and start creating your own. That's when you feel alive. That's when you feel unstoppable. But make no mistake, resourcefulness requires hunger. If you're not truly committed, if your goal is just a wish, you'll never tap into it. Because when you're half in, you'll find excuses. But when you're all in, you'll find a way. Hunger unlocks resourcefulness. It turns ordinary people into innovators, leaders, and creators. So ask yourself right now, where in your life or business have you been blaming a lack of resources? Where have you been saying, if only I had more money, if only I had more time, if only I had more support? Be honest with yourself, because as long as you live in that story, you'll stay stuck. Now flip the script. Ask, what can I do with what I already have? How can I turn this limitation into leverage? How can I become so resourceful that no obstacle can stop me? The moment you make that shift, you become powerful beyond measure. And here's the beauty of it. Once you master resourcefulness, the resources eventually come. The money shows up. The people show up. The opportunities show up. Why? Because the world rewards those who act without excuses. The universe responds to boldness. Doors open for the ones who refuse to stop knocking. So don't sit around waiting for the perfect conditions. Don't wait for resources to appear before you act. Decide to be resourceful now. Use your creativity, use your passion, use your determination. When you do, you'll discover that you already have everything you need to create the future you want. Because in the end, resources might give you an advantage, but resourcefulness will make you unstoppable. And when you master that, there's no limit to what you can build, no limit to the problems you can solve, and no limit to the life you can create. So I ask you now, will you step into mastery? Will you take control of your story, elevate your standards, decide with courage, and harness your resourcefulness? Because mastery isn't reserved for the few, it's earned by those who choose it. And when you master your life, Business is not something you run, it's something you create. So go create it with all that you are, and leave nothing behind.